Welcome back to Webcertain TV. I'm Gemma Houghton. Today I'm joined by Stefan Wirtz, who is the team lead for online marketing for Wiggle and Chain Reaction. And we're going today to talk about managing e-commerce sites internationally. So hi Stefan, thank you for being here.
Hi Gemma, thanks for the invitation.
Pleasure. So you look after a couple of brands that have websites in very many different languages and target multiple markets. So what do you find are the biggest challenges when managing international sites?
Yeah, I would say the biggest challenge is the resource. So you either have the resource in-house or you have like an agency supporting you. That is mainly followed by local restrictions, legal issues, as well as having the right marketing mix for the individual country.
So that's a good point to mention, the kind of marketing mix for each country, and that obviously does vary. So how do you manage strategy? Do you have a global strategy that is tailored slightly, or are strategies developed for each market individually?
I mean, for Wiggle and Chain Reaction, the biggest market is the UK and Irish market. Obviously, the main global strategy is around those two countries. Yes, international, we adapt this strategy, but then obviously you have to tweak it here and there. You have like the winter sale obviously starts at a different point in Europe than it does in the UK. Mother's Day is on a different day than here. So whenever you have those special trading seasons, it's always good to basically have some local resource to get it on point. And even in the Benelux countries, for example, you are only allowed to advertise those kinds of trading seasons within a limited point of time. And if you don't follow these guidelines, you can be prosecuted in the end by a competitor.
Yeah, so it's very important, not only just from the audience perspective, but also to make sure that you're complying with all those regulations. And can be quite challenging, I guess,
it is
to be able to make sure that you know all of that. And
I mean, that's why the resource is really important. That's the biggest challenge, I would say, if you target international markets, that you have it.
And in terms of the different channels that you use, obviously you say, the UK is the main one, that's where you focus, but how much do you have to vary the kind of which channels you invest the most in and which channels work best for you, depending on the market?
Again, because like the two brands we look after are well known here, so yes, we do spend a lot of money within sales promotion, but not as much as internationally, because like abroad we are not well known. We are competing, for example, in Germany against a really competitive market with strong competitors, so our paid investment is a lot bigger internationally than it is in the UK.
And brands need to be adaptable to that and realise that that's the only way that you're actually going to be able to work internationally, not to just say, well, we spend the same everywhere and we do the same everywhere.
Exactly. Obviously, if a brand wants to enter a market, they need to be aware that the first months, years need to be heavily on investment. Otherwise, you will never compete in a really competitive market.
And when it comes to e-commerce sites, obviously one of the big challenges is that there's a lot of pages, many product pages, which are obviously often regularly updated. Things will change on that. So then scaling that to then change those on multiple websites in multiple languages is difficult. What kind of tips could you give for any business doing that in terms of making it more efficient and effective?
Obviously, especially for sales promotion, it is important that you have the right translated pages and products. Otherwise, the Google shopping feed, for example, will not get your products online, and that is the biggest challenge. So the best tip I could get is either get the resource in-house as a translation department, or if you don't have the budget for it, try to outsource it, but make sure that all the pages and the new products that come onto your e-commerce site will definitely get translated in the right way.
Yeah, and then what about in terms of creating kind of fresh content? Because it's one thing to translate, product pages and descriptions, but then there's also the content marketing side of things, which is more, creating content to engage and inform. How do you handle that side of it for international?
So we have blogs and guides for the international markets. As well, so we have the branding team. We also have like two professional cycling teams. So it's a Wiggle High Five team as well as a Chain Reaction cycling team. They do produce a lot of content because they go to races. They are around training and training camps. So that creates a lot of content that we can obviously translate into the different languages. And then we have the buying guides. So where we tell people, okay, this is your best start to buy a road bike. This is the way into mountain biking. This is to start your triathlon or your training for anything you really like to get outdoors. So this is the kind of way that our translation department would then go and create themselves and tweak it a little bit. And obviously, not everything is really important to every market. So we vary a little bit. Sometimes, depending on how creative our translation department is, they create their own content individual. For example, the Tour de France is starting in Germany this year. So obviously we will create a bit of content around that, about the start. And then, for example, my Japanese colleague, she has this trading period around Christmas time where they have these happy bags. So it's like a trading period where Japanese people are just really searching for this kind of term. And then, obviously, we build the content around it. And again, you need the right resource for that.
Yeah, it's all about having the people that understand it and then are able to execute on that.
Exactly, yeah.
And then with e-commerce sites, obviously, conversion is key. That is what you are aiming for with that, people actually buying. So what do you think are the biggest barriers to conversion, and especially in international, does that vary by market?
It's obviously, there are barriers across international territories that also apply for the UK. So the basic ones is the site speed up to great? Are there product information and product content there? Reviews is a big factor, especially for brands abroad than like us that have not great visibility, so people need a bit of trust there. So it's great to include like Google Trusted Jobs, Trustpilot, and also your internal reviews to basically make that happen and get the content on site. The next barrier obviously is the usability. So how quickly can people, take their product, put it in the basket, check out, and then depending on the country, it's delivery. So obviously based in the UK, our main disadvantage against the local competitors is that we might be a day or two behind in terms of delivery. So we need to make sure that either our delivery price or our delivery threshold is at least competitive enough to get those customers purchase from us, from a site in the UK. And then again, the price. And the payment method as well. Whereas in Spain, for example, people really like pay on delivery. If you don't have it, you will see a definitely decline in conversion. In the Nordic countries, it's a payment provider called Klarna. So they basically offer rate pay and they offer pay on bill. So for the Nordic countries, this is an essential point as well. So you just have to have the right payment options and delivery options for each individual country.
And are there any markets which you find particularly challenging to target? Are there any which really don't conform in any way to others and, you really need a very different approach?
Like Germany is quite competitive. You have a fast delivery network from the local competitors. But then again, it depends where and what you do. So I would say it depends. It really depends on the individual market,
Many businesses might be put off by entering a competitive market thinking, well, we can't compete with the local players. So why is it still valuable to do that, and what do you need to do to make sure you can stand out from those local competitors?
For a company who has never tried it, I think it's always worth trying it if you have the possibilities to trade into those markets, especially within UK. We are still pre-Brexit, so I think trading should be okay into Europe for the next 2 years. So it's worth a try. As said, the delivery is not really that much slower. You can always do promotions on next day deliveries, which is possible, and then compete against your competitors. It's always good also to price match your local competitors, to basically be matched on the price as well. And going forward, I would say make sure that you also do that matching, because if you just take your pound conversion rate, you might have a trading period where the pound is really strong, and obviously it's good for you, but then you have a period where the pound is weak, and then it's not good for the margin. So I would say, try to find the middle way in between that, and try to challenge the local competitors. Until you try, you never know what's going to happen.
Good advice. Well, thanks very much for sharing all those tips with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks.